My younger brother Ethan has always held a deep grudge against me. If you assume it's rooted in jealousy, you'd be mistaken. Ethan was the cherished child in our family, not me, so envy wasn't the cause. For context, our mother doted on Ethan endlessly. He was the golden boy, pampered with home-cooked meals, his laundry done, and even my assistance with his homework, simply because I was his older brother. I was expected to support him without question, yet I never received the same care. I didn't mind much, being naturally self-reliant. Perhaps I enabled his behavior by always being there for him without expecting reciprocity. Ethan never helped me when I needed him, and only approached me when he wanted something. While I was a quiet, studious introvert who kept to myself, Ethan was boisterous and aggressive, much like our father. I'm blunt and honest, never softening my words, which I suspect led my mother to view me less favorably. This favoritism made Ethan the family's darling, and I was fine with it growing up. But trouble started when he began targeting me for being different. He mocked my height, my glasses, and my reserved nature. He'd sneak into my room, read my private journal, and tattle to our mother about its contents. When I confronted him for invading my privacy, our parents brushed it off, saying it was harmless sibling behavior. Ethan's antics escalated. He nearly broke my glasses once and even tampered with my food, slipping small pebbles into my cereal. Luckily, I noticed before eating, but when I told my mum, she dismissed it as boys being boys. During our arguments, Ethan would hone in on my vulnerabilities, amplifying my insecurities. We attended the same school where I was already being bullied. Instead of defending me, Ethan joined the bullies, hurling insults like pathetic loser or awkward geek, and egging them on to physically intimidate me. Once, during a petty spat I can barely recall, he told me to end my life. That cut deep, especially since I was grappling with mental health struggles at the time. I'm in a better place now, but hearing my brother wish me dead was crushing. With our dad often away for work and our mum indifferent, she even blamed me for provoking Ethan, things grew worse. In high school, Ethan tried to set my hair on fire, and shockingly, our mother defended him, claiming it was just a prank. I was stunned. Who does that? Thankfully, my dad finally intervened, warning Ethan that he'd involve the police if it happened again. That moment shook Ethan. He'd never faced consequences before. Dad made it clear that Ethan needed to respect me. Later, Dad visited my room for a heart-to-heart. He admitted he'd hoped Ethan would outgrow his behavior, but he now saw him for the bully he'd become. Hearing this from my dad, who always bonded with Ethan over their similarities, was incredibly validating. I opened up about everything, Ethan's torment and the school bullying. Dad was floored by how much I'd endured. The next day, he spoke to the school principal, ensuring the bullies faced consequences. That evening, he enrolled me in MMA classes, urging me to stand up for myself. A nerd like me learning to fight might have seemed absurd, but I was determined. I balanced school and training, and MMA transformed my confidence and physique. One day, Ethan stole my chore money, which I'd saved diligently. I caught him as he tried to ride off with his friends. When I demanded my money back, he taunted me, saying I'd just run to Dad. Something snapped. I punched him, knocking him down, and retrieved my money. He cried dramatically, which was almost amusing. Our mother rushed out, shocked that I'd hit him, and scolded me for not being a better example. Ethan relished seeing me reprimanded, but when Dad got home, he demanded the full story. I explained how Ethan stole my hard-earned money, while Ethan claimed he needed it for a date, and that I should have helped him as his brother. Dad shut him down, saying he was lucky I didn't call the police for theft. Ethan threw a tantrum, expecting Mum to back him, but Dad stood firm. Defeated, Ethan screamed that he hated me and locked himself in his room. After that, Ethan stopped targeting me physically, realizing he couldn't push me around anymore. But he resorted to sly verbal jabs when our parents weren't around, calling me dork or failure under his breath. As we grew older, his temper worsened. He'd ignore me or communicate through our mom rather than speak directly. When I asked her why, she'd tell me to be more patient. I couldn't tell if it was teenage angst or genuine hatred. I tried asking her to mediate a conversation to resolve our issues, but she refused, saying she didn't want to get involved. Desperate to escape, I threw myself into my studies. I earned a scholarship to my dream university, and Dad threw a celebration. Even Mum seemed proud, but Ethan barely acknowledged it. Leaving for college felt like freedom from our toxic home. At university, I thrived, made friends, and found peace away from Ethan's hostility. In my second year, I met my wife Sarah at a friend's party. We hit it off instantly. Coming from a traditional background, having a child out of wedlock wasn't ideal, but when Sarah got pregnant in our final year, we married after graduation. Our wedding was small but joyful, and I believed Sarah was my soulmate. I envisioned a lifelong monogamous partnership, never straying despite other women's interests because I was content. but I later discovered Sarah's 2 betrayals: a years-long affair with a married colleague and a brief fling with an ex during a family visit. Naively, I forgave her both times, not wanting our child to grow up in a fractured home. I attributed the first affair to youthful mistakes and worked to rebuild trust. 4 years after her second betrayal, I thought we'd moved forward, planning our family's future. Then, 3 months ago, Sarah dropped a bombshell. She'd been having a long-term affair and wasn't sure if our son was mine. The revelation shattered me. Numbly, I asked how she could keep such a secret. Her cold, detached response left me reeling. Pressing for answers, I demanded to know the other man's identity. She admitted it was Ethan. My heart sank as she recounted how they grew close during her holiday stay with my family. Ethan, usually cold to me, was charming to her. Sarah, eager to fit in, spent time with my mum and included Ethan in our outings to bridge our rift. She said Ethan confided in her about a breakup, and their friendship turned into flirtation, then an affair. Sarah felt guilty and left abruptly before New Year's, which I'd questioned at the time. When she returned to college, she acted normal, and soon after we learned she was pregnant. Uncertain of the father, she chose me, believing I was the reliable one. She later admitted to continuing the affair with Ethan, sneaking away to hotels under the guise of work trips. Devastated, I asked why she married me if she wanted Ethan. She said she didn't want to end our marriage and saw me as a great father. Furious but calm, I packed my bags. Sarah begged for forgiveness, arguing our son shouldn't suffer from a divorce. I reminded her he might not be mine, and she accused me of cruelty. I left, checking into a hotel, unable to stay. The next day, I told my parents everything. Mom initially defended Ethan, unable to believe he'd betray me. To prove it, I called Ethan in their presence, asking them to stay silent. When confronted, Ethan denied it, then blamed Sarah, calling her untrustworthy. I warned I'd expose him, and he mocked me, saying no one would believe me over the golden child. I revealed our parents had heard everything. Stunned, Ethan stammered excuses, but Mom demanded answers, her faith in him shaken. Dad took the phone, condemning Ethan's betrayal and cutting off his college funds and support. Mom hugged me, apologizing for not believing me sooner. It was a moment of validation I'd never imagined. Dad helped me find a divorce lawyer. Sarah fought for alimony, but her affair weakened her case. A paternity test confirmed Ethan was the father of our son, a gut-wrenching blow. I couldn't bear to see the child who reminded me of Ethan. Sarah begged me to stay in his life, but I needed distance to heal. Post-divorce, I moved into my own place, relishing my independence. 2 weeks ago, Dad revealed he was altering his will to leave Ethan nothing but $1, with his $2 million estate going to me, provided Mom could live in their home if he passed first. I agreed, wanting to care for her. Somehow, Ethan learned of this and called, begging for help. He was struggling with college fees and child support as Sarah was demanding money. He wanted me to reconcile with our parents for him. I laughed, reminding him he'd brought this on himself by betraying me. He argued Sarah was equally at fault, but I pointed out I'd already divorced her. She was his problem now. Ethan cried, saying the family had shunned him, but I told him he was no longer my brother and to never contact me again. Part of me felt a pang hearing him cry, a vulnerability I hadn't seen since childhood. Now I'm torn. Should I speak to our parents on his behalf, or would I be wrong to stay firm? Many have asked why I've cut contact with my son, James. I need to clarify, I can't raise another man's child, especially not Ethan's, after believing James was mine. This isn't like being a stepfather, the deception cut deep. Staying involved would keep Sarah in my life, and I need a clean break. I know some may see this as harsh, but I can't face James right now, maybe not for years. As many suspected, Mum told Ethan about Dad's will change, prompting his call. I confronted her with Dad present, and she broke down, saying Ethan had suffered enough. Dad warned her that if she believed Ethan's actions were forgivable, their marriage was over. He forbade her from contacting Ethan, threatening divorce if she did. Mum has complied, and I hope she learns from this. 5 months later, my bond with my parents has strengthened. Dad and I golf weekly, and he treats me like a friend. Mom misses Ethan but has respected Dad's boundaries. I heard through a cousin that Ethan dropped out of college, unable to afford it, and is living with Sarah, working part-time as a mechanic while raising James. I don't discuss Ethan with my parents, and they avoid the topic. I got a promotion, boosting my income, and I'm in therapy to heal. I'm not dating yet, needing time to recover. Thanks for reading.